Oh yeah, get the energy up. Okay. Quick poll while we're just getting settled seating here. How many of you are developers, engineers? Look at that. Look around. All your fellow nerds. I love it. I can say that because I'm a nerd. How many of you own an Apple Vision Pro? Yes. Wow. Oh my goodness. Amazing. Well, quick reminder, if you don't have one, you can win one this weekend at Security Developer Camp. And you can follow me on LinkedIn to learn more about that. All you need is your brain. It's an idea contest. It's not a hackathon, and because it's only 12 hours, I can't really call it a hackathon if it's only one day. So we're calling it an idea contest. But you can bring your ideas if you hacks. It's online, and it's free. So we're trying to make it accessible, experimenting with a new format. Listen, it's not about me, it's about these people here. And we're going to start with Sarah. And her app Helium. She's going to give you her story. We're going to do this a presentation at a time and then have questions from me and also the audience. So I'm just going to give the mic to Sarah.
Thank you, Dom. We call this a nerdy play date, right? A most excellent nerdy play date. So my background is as a television journalist. And I covered a lot of trauma, rapes, murders, homicides. We went in with the aftermath of the tsunami in Sri Lanka and Indonesia, and ultimately developed Helium for me, as well as the millions of people who want to feel better and sleep better. And so it's measured mindfulness, and it's uniquely powered by your body's electricity. And what we'll be talking about today is our experience with Apple Vision Pro. Happy to answer any questions. And also how we're visualizing and volumizing that biometric data. And so we have a content channel, and then our core technology is turning your body's electricity into assets that you can actually see inside Apple Vision Pro. Also, we're on Pico and Meta as well. So essentially using your smartwatch as an input, and inside these environments, they're reactive and they're sentient. And that's something going forward, that we're not just passively watching these experiences in AVP or any other platform, you're actually feeling them. Have a small team of data science, neuroscience, technologists, and engineers, and we've been building since 2013, back in the days of Google Cardboard. Samsung Gear VR, in 2019 with the good old Oculus Go, we released a bunch of experiences for veterans, terminally ill and aging World War II vets who weren't able to physically travel. And what we noticed in those experiences is that spatial computing, you're not just passively watching it, you're feeling it. And that's a firefighter's brain immediately before an experience and just 4 minutes after. So you can see the stress activity, the fast activity in their brain significantly reduced. And that led us to develop apps for all the platforms. And as you all know, we needed another headset to build for, like we needed a hole in the head, right? So when AVP came out, we knew that we had to build it. And it's called Mental Fitness for a New Reality. We were one of the 600 apps that were mentioned. Snapped this picture at WWDC. Apple actually mentioned Helium, our small company, in its media release, which we were super excited for. And these are spatial stories powered by fitness trackers. You're not just passively watching these experiences, you're actually feeling them, and you're learning to self-regulate. So, that aura around you is powered by, and we use EEG headbands as well as a fitness tracker, your brain patterns or your heart rate, like an Apple Watch. And so all around you, you're seeing the environments glow from green to gold, depending on your biometric data, and it's our core technology that's powering those experiences. We know this is a mental health emergency, and so for Apple Vision Pro, it provided us a unique experience because we had spent years in app labs, right? There are more than 60 apps right now, mindfulness, relaxation apps in this mental health emergency that are stuck in app labs. And so Apple Vision Pro provided us a great experience to get our content out there and actually not have it be hidden in the App Store. So we were, super excited about that. And it's helping people learn to self-regulate their brain patterns and their heart rate, and then also create stored memories that they can go back to in stressful situations. So on iOS, just on a mobile device, this iOS app was built in Unity. Our Pico and Meta apps were also built in Unity. And so we faced a decision of, what are we going to use when it comes out to Apple Vision Pro? And ultimately, we were going through the pros and the cons of the list. And when it came to deciding, I was like, hold on. Did we get accepted to the polyspatial beta? We did not. So that made the choice fairly easy, and so we built the apps in Swift UI as well. And so this is what it looks like. Just with an Apple Watch, you can grow butterflies with your heart rate and see that data personified around the room. You can grow flowers. This is on iOS. You can see them move. No longer is the data a flat number sequestered in your wrist. It's spatial, and you can feel spatial. It's set out into the world, and you can actually see it and learn to control it. And again, after all, how are you supposed to learn to control what you can't see? So this is Carter Airy as far as Apple Vision Pro customers. He's an adaptive golfer, a professional golfer, and an amputee. And you can see he's connecting his Apple Watch to Apple Vision Pro with Helium's API. And he's able to see his feelings so that he can learn to self-regulate. Those environments are sentient and they're reactive to him. So as he lowers his heart rate, the environment changes all around him. He's going through this beautiful Swiss countryside, and he's able to experience the media and feel the media as well. And so inside AVP, we had a lot of problems that came up. We didn't have anybody quit, which was good, but certainly, using your heart rate as an input was not natively there inside Apple Vision Pro. And so we had to create that feature, that unique connection and that API that allowed you to import your biodata. And so if any of you all in the room would like to try that API, would love it. Like, we need feedback on it. It's, new device. And we've been telling stories with biodata for a long time, so really would like to get this API in your hands, have you build some experiences that are sentient and reactive to you and to your surroundings. Also comes with biodata timestamps, and you can actually scrub through these experiences and see how your heart rate changed through that experience. So we're attaching the biodata to the content and seeing how those assets change for heart rate in Apple Vision Pro, and then we do EEG, ultimately any other sensor. Also in AVP, you can see sleep experiences. All of these experiences are meant to be viewed in a reclined position before sleep. We haven't captured a lot of videos with AVP and sleep yet, but ultimately you use the biodata integrations. You train with your heart rate during the day, and then at night you can view those same experiences in a reclined position before sleep. And that's really interesting for creating stored memories that people can go back to in some of these stressful situations. And so with that, I know we tell a lot of stories about what's happening inside the app. And one of the things that we wanted to do was tell stories about how some of these individuals are using Apple Vision Pro and the Apple Vision Pro app and ecosystem. And here's a little bit more from Carter Airy, who is an adaptive golfer.
Yes, I've always loved sports, always played sports. Making a Team USA roster was like something when I was 6. Like, my mom will tell you, like, I was obsessed with the Olympics. What would be cooler than being a Team USA athlete is like being a two-sport Team USA athlete. I thought that would be like, put that on my gravestone. Like, that's how cool I thought that would be. The US Adaptive Open came on the TV, which neither of us had ever heard of, but it was literally amputees on Golf Channel. With basketball, I was unhealthy obsessed. Nothing else mattered. And I paid for it. And this time around, we're taking a full, well-rounded, healthy approach to obtaining a goal, which is, mindfulness.
Yeah, once you have those basic building blocks, I mean, where else, what is left to overcome, when you have mindfulness, when you have breathing, when you're able to self-soothe. I mean, we talk about that with our own children, when you're able to find those pieces, when you get into that super sticky situation, when you're hot, when you're exhausted, you've been playing for the past 3 days, you're away from home, you're hungry, and you still have to make a golf shot, you're leading a tournament, you have that pressure on you. I mean, it's invaluable.
Visualization is, it's key to golf. It's something me and the playing team practice on the course. And the fact that we can go home and practice that at home is massive.
Just being able to get into that flow state much quicker. I think honestly it's allowed him to make such big, large advancements in a much shorter amount of time.
So the world is no longer flat. It is no longer passive as well, right? It's connected. And you all in this room have an opportunity to connect your body's own electricity to content. And how cool is that, that you can make experiences that are sentient? They have the ability to teach people how to learn to self-regulate and also remind us all that our thoughts do have power to control things, not only in the virtual world, but in the real world as well. So we're Helium. We are measured mindfulness for a new reality. We have APIs that we would love for you to be able to use and test, and excited to be in the room in this one large nerdy playdate.
Lovely. Thank you. So yeah, I'd like to just keep it going and invite Andrew up and just pass the mic. You're good? Okay, great. I'll just take your spot and queue up those questions. Queue up what did that make you think about? What did that make you feel? I saw so many odd looks on your eyes. If I could have just had my moment to just look at the tension there and just feeling that moment of how can we all tap into that? So cool you got APIs for us. Thank you.
Yeah, we're hoping that they'll be better after you work. That this is new of using any sensor. Ultimately, we want any sensor. Right now, we have EEG headbands with the BrainLink Lite. At AWE on the floor, we'll be demoing a Muse integration. And then Samsung Galaxy Watch is integrated, and then Apple Watch is integrated as well.
Exciting. Awesome. Well, Andrew, please take it away.
Great. I'm actually going to talk a little bit less about my company, Alchemy Labs, and a little bit more about the specific things we did. I'm sure that many, if not most of you, know what we do. So I am Andrew Eiche, the CE Owl at Alchemy Labs. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of Google, and there's only one CEO at Google. I am not Sundar, so I am the CE Owl at Alchemy Labs. I joined Alchemy in 2015. Previously, I worked on board games, serious games, and did management consulting. For those of you who don't know our games, this is our probably most famous game, and maybe it will play. Ooh.
Hello, human. Welcome to an accurate simulation of Office Worker. You've been doing a really good job lately. I think it's about time you got a promotion.
Hooray! It's 5 o'clock! Woohoo! It's time to go home!
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask you to come in on Saturday.
And that's the actual app preview we use on the App Store. So that was all taken off the headset. That we captured that specifically because you can't use other footage. So we're going to talk about porting existing content, and we're going to go through design and input, performance, some audio, and some specifics around loading content. To kind of preface this, Alchemy Labs uses Unity. We are a Unity studio and have been since Unity 3. We've been around a long time. So all of this is catered to Unity. There are other engines that can work. I know that there are people trying to figure out how to make Unreal work with the fully immersive stuff, but we're going to talk about this and through the lens of Unity. So the biggest design shift you have, so if you already have content, especially on a 6DOF platform, is you likely use controllers, and so input is going to be the largest thing. Hands only in this, right? You only are going to use your hands. XR best practice, which I hope is me just retreading this for you all. The best practice in XR is to use the fewest buttons possible. The big thing that I tell people if you're ever designing for controllers and why we love hands so much is that if you look at how many people actually play video game consoles, it's in the hundreds of millions. And if you look at the amount of cell phone users there are, we're talking about billions, right, in smartphones. So controllers are already complicated. They're already difficult to use. And using those controllers, we're asking people to understand the layout of a controller that's basically the standard like Xbox or PlayStation controller split in half, and then we're asking them to do it with a blindfold on. So you really should be using the fewest buttons possible to begin with if you're using a controller, and Alchemy Labs is shifting entirely towards hand tracking, and we're a hand tracking first studio. In fact, the next game we're working on is hand tracking only. And so you should be doing the fewest buttons possible, which allows you to transfer it over to hands a little bit easier. And with hands, the similar thing is you want to reduce the number of gestures. And what a gesture is, just to kind of lay that out, is it's a specific hand motion that isn't interacting with the environment in an obvious way. It's doing something very specific. So there is like an example gesture on the Apple Vision is the pinch, right? It's looking and doing that kind of pinch tap, right? But that's it. That's the gesture, right? There isn't other weird like Spider-Man hand motions you have to make, right? And so everything you add, every gesture you add requires that somebody remember that gesture, right? And early XR platforms, if you ever worked on those with hand tracking, they had 1 million gestures, right? And it was terrible because you had to remember all these things. So it's mental load, we want to avoid it. So the biggest thing to do is, one of the biggest ways to get out of this is to swap gestures for environmental interactions. Stop putting your buttons on the controller and put them in the world. The players are going to understand the user experience better that's built inside the game than understanding some abstract gesture. Famously, we have the exit burrito. It's a burrito. We have this eating system in the game. When you want to leave the game, you open up a briefcase. You bring the burrito to your face. You take one bite. Written in rice is the word really. That's your confirmation. You take a second bite and you exit the world. We could have put this on a button, right? We could have easily just made this like a gesture that you do, the magic exit gesture, but that will require you remember it. You don't have to remember it here. You get to use the knowledge that you bring from the real world. Hey, burritos are edible. If I bring this burrito to my face that says exit, I'm probably going to take a bite. Oh, wow, it says really. I guess that means that I should take another bite and then I'll leave the world. And the same goes for like buttons, right? If you're hiding buttons and menus and those things, you can bring them into the virtual world. Some considerations to remember. In the current line of Vision OS, hand tracking is limited to 30 frames per second, 30 hertz, right? This is a pretty low frame rate, to be honest. We had to do some real magic to get Job Simulator and Vacation Simulator to work at 30 frames per second. There is a lot of like interpolation and assumptions. Throwing is a crazy one because for throwing to work, for instance, we want to see your hand disappear, and then catch one frame of your hand and a second one, and that's how we figure out the direction, right? And so throwing almost works better if you hold your hand in front of your face and throw like a dart, but we can support full behind the head throws. We're only doing it off of about 2 frames of data, right? So those are the kind of things to consider. It takes a lot of work if you want this to go. Now, the good news is Vision OS 2 is going to support 90 frames per second, which is the fastest update for hand tracking specifically. So you're going to get a lot of data there, much less interpolation. Really excited for that. That said, even on the current beta, there is some latency that doesn't exist in all platforms, right? So where your hand's physical position is versus where your hand's actual position is a bit latent. So you are going to have to put some smoothing in there and do some interpolation. One note, don't forget to avoid accidentally triggering system gestures, right? This is a problem for all hand tracking. So there's a system gesture where you look up and pull, right? And that brings up, you look up and pinch, and that brings up a menu, right, on Vision. In Job Simulator, we have a restaurant, and in the restaurant, we have order tickets, and the order tickets are above your head. And to pick up an order ticket, you look up, and you pinch, and you pull, and it opens up the menu. So you have to be careful. And platform holders are not keen on letting you override their system gestures, so you have to design around it. So we did some things to make sure that we don't incur that. Another example is in an old prototype for Quest. I know we're talking about Vision, but just an example, we built a puppet, and you look at the puppet, and it immediately fires off the system gesture. And everybody does that, so no puppets, sorry. Performance, right? So standard mobile best practices apply here, and I can talk on and on about performance if you want to talk about that, but just real quick, these are very Unity specific. Static content, use static content all the time and always. Leverage dynamic batching. It's an extremely difficult system to figure out and work with. You need to do it. You need to figure it out. Incur the pain. It's worth it. Swap out models that use physics while resting. We do this all the time. This is a trick. Don't let things that have physics, like rigid bodies, just sit there, right? You got to go in and actively swap them out with something static. And then we move our animations to shaders many times when they're simple. So all the butterflies in Vacation Simulator are not actually animated. They are using a vertex shader, which allows us to cheat. Quest developers, if you built your content for Quest, you're in great shape. Going that way is awesome. We actually turned on features for Vision. We added shadows back in. We did a bunch of stuff. So Quest developers, you probably don't have to do much. You're used to this. If you are a PC VR developer or possibly like someone doing mobile Unity, and this is your first time rendering two viewports at the exact same time at a very high frame rate, you're going to need to do significant optimization. It's just the nature of things. But yeah, we were able to re-enable a bunch of PC VR features. So the Vision Pro version of Job Simulator is very close to what the PC version is from a graphical standpoint. And Vacation Simulator, of course. There is currently no spatializer available in the fully immersive mode in Unity that's easily accessible. So spatializers are extremely important for audio. They allow us to hear 3D audio, right? It's what allows you to hear things behind you and around you, right? Otherwise, you just have stereo sound. Apple has an incredible spatializer. It has not been integrated into the fully immersive side. It is available in polyspatial, but it's not available when you run on Metal. You can like hack it in, but then you won't be able to use Unity's audio sources and a bunch of other stuff. That stinks. You don't want to do that. So what we did is we recompiled Resonance for Vision OS. Resonance is an open source kind of old spatializer that is run by Google, and we grabbed it and we recompiled it, and it worked. We're really hoping Unity provides access to the Apple Spatializer for the Vision OS 2 launch. We are advocating privately, and this is my public advocacy for it. Please connect it to the audio source, because we don't want to have to keep recompiling random spatializers. Thank you. Content loading works differently on XR platforms than other platforms. This is really important to know, especially for Unity. Unity does not compile its shaders when you build the game. It compiles the shaders the first time you run them. That's really, really important to know, because when it compiles shaders, it hitches. And if you hitch a bunch, you're going to make your players puke. So don't do that. So their shader compilation that Unity provides that's built in does not work, because Vision OS has a requirement that you must show a frame every 2 seconds. If you do not render a frame every 2 seconds, the app is automatically killed. So you can't use Unity's built-in one if you have too many shaders. We build very visually distinct games, so we have too many shaders. So our apps were getting shut down, so we had to build our own. What we do is we render a bunch of stuff behind your head on quads that you can't see, and we just do it all. On Vacation Simulator, this is 3 to 4 minutes of rendering. It's one time, though. So once the shaders are rendered, it's done. We are working with Unity, and a lot of us, not just Alchemy, are talking about how to get that function to connect better so that we could just run that function. Currently, we use a bunch of jokes on the screen and put you in a black screen, but we actually have a different way that we're planning on patching in soon, where we just use a Swift UI window and you can multitask while this thing is rendering in the background. So you kind of see a picture of that we're doing. So it's not so bad if it's 3 to 4 minutes of like compiling shaders and you can go surf the web. And that can work for anybody. We're still experimenting with it. We're not 100% sure how it works, but it turns out you could just pop up Swift UI windows even in full immersive mode. So, putting it all together, remember, your goal is to build your game or app to work with the operating system, not in spite of it, right? Really, really important to think of that, right? Don't try to like take your game and make it feel like a Quest game that works on Vision OS. It should feel native to the platform. So you need to focus on on the proper ways to modify your design to meet the user where they're at, right? Don't try to emulate a controller. Move the input inside the virtual world. Figure out how to provide multitasking windows. Meet the users where they're at and their expectations. And be creative with this. Users love when their experience feels catered to their platform of choice. At Alchemy, we say that we don't really do ports. Every single game we launch feels first party, right? And that's really, really important. It's important to the ecosystem, but it's also great for your customers, right? They really want to feel like they weren't an afterthought. That's it. Thank you.
I tried both of those games, and I think I got a little bit of anxiety playing the job simulator game because it was something that made me feel like the future had happened, and I was a relic.
Yeah, it is. When we made it, it was like this joke. What if bots replaced all of us and jobs and all that? And now it's like, they're replacing all of us. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, it's
Then I went to Vacation Simulator and I felt much better.
You felt because the bots don't know how to vacation. So
That's something only I can do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Great. Vamping a little bit because we have such a great group of panelists. I'll just hear it once more for everyone on stage. And I must say, I've been following. Great. Let's give it up. We're looking good, so I'll save my comments till the end. But just give it up to Adam. Sandwich, as he's known.
Oh yeah.
Would you like this one?
Mic distance, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. No, I'm okay. Thank you. I think I need my hands to think and spatial compute and all that stuff. Who knows how to use presentation notes? I'm just kidding. I don't need them. Okay, let's go full screen. Let's just do it. We're doing it live. Who has a favorite television? If you close your eyes and remember all the televisions back from your life. So I saw somebody using this on an airplane when I was a kid, and it's all I wanted in the world because this represented high technology. It's the Sony GV200 Video Walkman. Played video 8 tapes. I didn't get one when I was a kid, but as an adult, when I had my own money, I went to eBay and I bought one. And I don't think it works, but it doesn't matter. Sits on my speaker on my desk, and it reminds me of what the hell I'm doing with my life. This is my favorite movie theater. It's the Vidiot's Eagle Theater in Eagle Rock, Los Angeles, where I live. Great organization, fully support it. And this is a story in images of how I took those two artifacts and got these two app icons on my home screen. This is who I am. I'm Adam Lisagor. These are some URLs. My primary thing is I own a company called Sandwich. We make videos and tell stories for the tech industry. Over the 15 years I've been doing it, I've made probably between 900 and 1,000 videos for about 300 of the world's coolest tech companies, big and small. I started out by helping launch Square. Up in the upper right, you'll see something for Descript that people are fond of. Various other things. Lower right corner, Birdhouse was how it all started. I thought I was going to be an iOS developer. I made a video for that app. It was a creative writing app for Twitter, a brand new platform you might have heard of. Made a video for that app, and the video got more attention than the app did. So I accidentally turned that into a company and stopped developing. This is December 18th of last year. This is the day that I met Andy Roth on Zoom. Andy's sitting right there. He did a talk this morning. And something clicked when we talked. It looks like we're going to get along well and work well together, doesn't it? You can kind of tell. That's the energy and the vibe in here. And I told him the story of sitting here probably a few days before our call, looking at this gallery wall in my living room and thinking, geez, I wish I could put a big video screen on that wall. Something like this, which is the Samsung frame that I have in my office. I love this object. But I couldn't because there's a gallery wall there. But I remembered that Apple was working on something interesting, and it's the Vision Pro. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. That seems like, spatial computing seems like a way that I might be able to do this. So that night I wrote down a bunch of app ideas for the Vision Pro. And the first one on the list was, codenamed television display Vision. Not a great name. I'm so glad we ended up with the name television. It's a library of photoreal TVs that you can place in your space and put video content on them. Fairly simple idea, but also a little bit of an oddball. Okay, why? What? Why? Why that app idea? Well, because this is how Apple does video in the Vision Pro, right? It's a window, and it's weightless, and it's got rounded rectangles, and it doesn't feel like anything. It just feels like video floating in the air. But I don't love that. That's not how I think of video content or movie content. I think of it as this. I think of it as an object in front of me with texture and weight. This is what a TV used to look like. It's made of wood, for God's sake. And you could not move these things by yourself. They were furniture, essentially. But still, this is like a magazine ad from the 80s, and look how cool that is. It sort of looks like the future that we have in front of us now. So I want to go over to a quote from Steve Jobs, right? Purportedly from nearing the end of his life. This is in the Walt Mossberg biography, where he talked about, cracking. I finally cracked it. I'd like to create an integrated TV set. It's completely easy to use. He had this vision. He had this in his mind. So I told Andy all this, and Andy liked the idea. This is my recreation of Andy liking the idea. In reality, he's probably just smiling because he's a really super nice guy. But Andy loved the idea, and we decided to work together on it. And so we got into Xcode. It was the first time I'd opened Xcode since 2009 when I did Birdhouse. And this was what it looked like when Andy grabbed a free television model and he put it in the simulator and we moved it around, and it was like, that seems like something substantive. There's there, as they say. And then the next step was that he figured out how to pipe some video content into it. And just for fun, it was like, gritty 80s content, which helped prove out the idea even more. It was very important to me that we have like a window floating by the side because we want it to share your space. We don't want it to overtake your space. Just like a real TV is shared in your space. You can do other things. So then my job was to start filling it with essentially the content in the app, and I decided, how do we curate these objects? We want TVs from all across the decades. We want them in different styles, invoking actual TVs that exist, invoking fabricated ones. There's a Jetson one at the top. They're all like, and we named them, and they were fun names like Grandma's Stories or Future Pain. There in the bottom middle is my favorite TV. It's based on the Sony Trinitron, but in the app we call it Tritipatron to avoid IP concerns. Anyway, so these are the models that are in the app. To make these models look good, I enlisted the help of my visual effects supervisor at Sandwich, and Dan Sturm, and that's what he does, is he takes all the 3D stuff that we're working on in the app and he figures out how to make it look better. This is a model that we built from scratch. It's actually a Macintosh TV, if you remember that there was a Macintosh TV. From the early 90s, 1993. Here's a Wikipedia page about it. Such a silly object, but like it was a computer and a TV, but you couldn't use them at the same time. You had to sort of like flip a switch. So we built this because it was fun. That's the startup sound. So we got all this stuff working in the simulator. Here's Dukes of Hazzard, right, on an old-fashioned 80s TV set. And it works in the simulator, and you can move it around, and it feels like it's going to be a thing, but we didn't know if it was going to be a thing. We didn't know if any of this stuff was going to work, because remember, nobody had the device yet. It's really hard to know if a spatial computing experience is going to work if you don't have the device. So what did we do? Well, boom. We applied to go to the Apple Developer Lab, and we got accepted. It was awesome. It was a big day. We flew up there. I live in LA. Andy was in Long Beach. We met in Cupertino for the first time. Here's where we sat. This spatial video capture on the iPhone had just come out, so I was like dorking out because we were nervous about the developer lab. We're having our coffee in the cafeteria, and I made Andy do those ridiculous 3D gestures at me to break the ice, and I'm a hopeless dork. Then we went inside the developer lab for the full day. It was awesome. Imagine getting to use the Vision Pro for the first time when none of the rest of the world is using it, and then you get to test your app in it. And I just remember this magic moment where obviously Andy is able to get everything up and running way faster than I am. I'm still figuring out how to plug the thing in, and Andy's like running the code already and building it in the device. I look over at him, and he has a big smile on his face, and he goes, "It works." It was a good moment. This was a big day for us. We kind of like knew, okay, now we're on. Now we're bringing this to market. This is going to be fun. How are we going to bring it to market? Oh yeah, I have a video company. I do this for a living. So I'm going to put way too much resources into making a commercial for this. It's going to be the world's first Vision Pro app commercial. I'm going to spend way too much money, way too many hours working on it. We're going to do it mostly in CG, recreating an experience that we don't have access to, which is what my company does for a living anyway. We do it with Movie Magic. We don't necessarily use software, in the UX to do it. So this is kind of how I introduced it on social media. It was just like me floating above my dining table. This is the Tritipatron. Switching over to another one. You remember a friend who had this ridiculous thing?
Welcome to the future of television. I call it television. Think of it like a bridge from where we've been to where we're going. In here, you can watch on any TV from our curated collection, or grab more from an expanding catalog across the decades. Place them naturally on any wall or surface, or defy the constraints of physics. Give television all your focus, or throw it on in the background while you work. And speaking of content, what's on? Play your own files, with more coming as we build. And soon, you won't even have to be alone. In here with SharePlay, you can watch with friends in a shared space. This is a whole new medium. So let's make it cool.
So that's the story of telling the story. You guys. You always do this to me. Thank you. That's the story of telling the story of television so that people could understand it for themselves and feel it. Like Sarah said, they're not just experiencing something passively, they're feeling it. So the job of us as storytellers is to make them feel it. You remember this shot where I'm wearing the Vision Pro, yet nobody has access to this thing? I enlisted Dan's help to just make a CG one for me. So that was kind of fun. So Movie Magic, again, had I to do it again, probably, there's other ways of telling the story. Anyway, I posted about it, launched the app. It was a big day. It got nice engagement. A lot of people really understood the idea. It's a little silly. There's all kinds of different reactions to it. this is ridiculous, I love it, is basically my favorite. You know, that's the one that is the most pure. Somebody said, you know, we got some of these. This is the first thing that makes me want to buy it. I'll take it. Christian Selig is the developer of Juno. He's a hero in the community. He said this is so cool, which was nice and validating because we were working on something in a similar space. Someone responded to him and said, since you love it so much, can't you just buy an old TV and implement it in your kitchen? And like, it's not hard. You just buy an old TV, dummy. And with that, like, thank you. Okay, thank you for the advice. There's always going to be those guys who are like, seen it. Boo, I have a TV already. Don't need to spend $4,000. There's always that guy. You just ignore that guy. Then there's this guy. I guess not only is it dumb, but also I suck as a person for bringing something a little bit challenging to the world. I guess, fine. I hope that one day he gets the love that he needs.
He's got 2 views over there. He's got 2 views.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Maybe that got buried in the algo, huh? Anyway, calm and collect. And I just want to revisit our friend Steve.
The fundamental problem here is that headphones are a miraculous thing. You put a pair of headphones and you get the same experience you get with a great pair of speakers, right? There's no such thing as headphones for video, right? There's not something I can carry with me that I can put on and it gives me the same experience I get when I'm watching my 50-inch plasma display at home. And until somebody invents that, you're going to have these opposing constraints. Well,
that's a kind of different kind of validation, right, in retrospect. And I love that a 50-inch plasma display was like the biggest TV he could think of back then. Technology moves very quickly. We just started building more features, and within a week, Andy had figured out how to implement YouTube in a great way with its own browser, and it 1,000x'd the value of the app instantly. Of course, because then you have access to the world's content, not just your own media library. This is when spatial personas came out, and me and Andy and Dan kind of sat around this table experiencing our app together for the first time, watching Ninja 3 to the Domination, if anybody, most of you have seen it, for sure, yeah. Big moment. This is what it actually turned out to be. This is spatial personas watching a clip together with a buddy. This is my buddy Beamer. You guys remember this clip? It's a classic.
The tracks go this way.
Yeah, Tech TV.
It's really cool because it records much more accurately than, oh, shit. Oh my God.
It's a crowd pleaser. So now I get to watch a TV while my partner watches the real TV and my kid plays MetaQuest 3 back there. And like, it's a very tech-forward household, but we all get to have these experiences together. So this was really fun to build. And then let's keep working. I love Andy. We work really well together. What else are we going to build, Andy? So we go to the oh, sorry, I almost forgot. Apple started asking us for artwork, promo materials, and they started to promote us on the App Store, which was really nice too. Here we are. We didn't get quite the placement that Helium got. We're sort of half of an icon. But again, better than nothing. My first half icon placement in Dub. So we moved on down the line to the second app idea, which is theater, aka screening room, aka a place like this, aka Heartbreak. That's the Nicole Kidman thing. It's a reference. Anyway, a long list of name ideas for this one, and we ended up with theater because it's simple. And it's a library of immersive theater spaces of various sizes and styles with movie screens. The user can select it, and it's the same thing as television, but instead of being outside the box, now you're inside the box. Really important distinction. Why? Okay. Because people love movies in the Apple Vision Pro, and we don't have enough environments, right? And even when we do have cool environments, they're always tied to the streaming platform. This is the Apple Immersive Cinema environment. I love it. It's my personal favorite. It's modern and clean, and you don't even feel like a corporeal being in there. You just feel like a brain, like a cerebral cortex floating. It's really neat. They have those juicy reflections on the floor and ceiling. This is the Disney one, much more Disney experience, of course. It proves the concept that these environments are really cool and valuable. So we wanted to do that, but bring our own content to it. This is Vidiot's Eagle Theater. Like, I wanted to be able to sit in these seats and watch my own content. Beautiful theater. Look at that carpet. And then I remembered, like WWDC is coming. Oh, what happens at WWDC? My friend John Gruber does a live show every year in a theater, in the California Theater at during Dub Dub, and he talks to the SVPs. He talks to the higher up people. That's Greg Joswiak, the SVP of Global Marketing. This is Mike Rockwell, who's a Hall of Famer at AWE. He's in charge of the Vision Pro. So he gets them on stage in front of an audience. It's awesome. It's a great show. And my company always shoots it traditionally, and we cut it together. We put it out on YouTube. We wanted to do something different. So I saw an opportunity to launch our app in a different way. This is the theater where that all happens. This is the audience when they file in and experience the show. So I had an idea. This is me having an idea at 4 o'clock this morning, making a slide about me having an idea. This is the tweet that I put out, right? It was linking to the 9 to 5 Mac story about we were announcing that we were going to capture the event and live stream it in stereoscopic to people's Vision Pro within our app for free so that they could experience the show in real time if they couldn't be there. And they could sit in the theater just like all the audience were. Extremely ambitious. This was the rig that we used. The custom built this rig to capture the event. This is me and Andy sitting off to the side of the stage, like enthralling, just having the time of our lives because everything was working. I was experiencing it through the app. Andy was watching it from our video feed. This is Craig Federighi. You probably recognize him from the Dub Dub keynote. Greg Joswiak. This is what it felt like to sit in the front row of our theater and see these people, except imagine you're seeing it in stereo, so it's even more immersive, and you're hearing the audience around you in real time. It was awesome. The reviews were great. Magic, like people said nice things. There were no butt heads at this time. This was Gruber's post about it. He was really nice. I'll cut to the poll quote here. We really pulled it off because there was doubt. This is what it feels like to sit in the theater and watch something that you've made on a 76-foot screen. This is the Vidiot's Theater in beta, watching Back to the Future. It's a great experience. It feels really good in there. This is, if you go to the App Store right now, you'll see television in a collection for spatial persona apps. And then if you look down at the bottom, you'll see our new app, Theater, in the What's New. That feels good. That feels good to be promoted like that. This is where to get the apps. I don't know if we do QR codes here. But that's it. It was a very different experience launching both apps. But, let's talk. We've got 5 more minutes left. But I feel like we should probably take more, right?
We can, why don't we just take a couple more? I think we should just have folks line up. I could ask folks questions, but I really do want to hear from the audience. So why don't you just sort of file up, and as you're getting to the mic, go ahead. Get to the mic. Yes.
I'm going to unplug audio, too, so if you want to turn down.
Exactly.
Thank you.
I'm just vamping until my homie gets to the mic.
Do you want to stand up here?
Yeah, I can do that. You can have a seat. Please, ask
Shall I
away.
begin? My question's to the sandwich team. I'm curious if these 2 apps you view as products that you'll continue to iterate and improve for the next 5 years or 10 years, or are they more stepping stones towards something else? And if they are stepping stones, I'm curious what other areas you're interested in.
Great question. I think both are true. There are more apps in the same trajectory. But we're going to continue to build both out, especially I think there's a lot of opportunity in theater because it is more experiential. I think that I'm glad we started with television because it's like a curio. It's an object of fascination. And then we moved into a different kind of experience And I think there's more to build off of that. And so that's where we're going.
Thanks.
Thank you.
More questions? Hey, Jared's coming up. Nice.
You got to build emulators supporting the television.
Oh,
Come
we
on.
hear that all
Come
the
on,
time. Do you know how much we want to do
N64?
it? I know.
It's right there.
No, there's Delta that's out. Delta is a great emulator. Do you
Oh
agree?
yeah. Oh yeah. I know it.
So we really want to get that Delta support in the app, but Andy's just one man, and I don't code, so.
Well, the next thing you need to do is get biodata integrations into the TV so you're watching what's happening.
I agree.
Brain patterns and heart rate with heliums inside the YouTube.
I'm fascinated by that because I think biofeedback should be in every computer interaction that we do. I think you're ahead of the curve.
Let's
there.
do it.
All right.
All right.
We're in.
Good.
Right.
So my question is to Alchemy. First of all, love the games. Thank you for making them. Moving to hand tracking, question is, with controllers, I can be hands at rest, right? So every time you're going from controllers at side to hands up, there's more fatigue there. So do you have any tips on how to go to hands, but not as fatiguing?
You could be hands at rest on Vision Pro. The cameras, I mean, that's the whole thing was built to do that, right? Think about the interaction. The first screen they show you is, don't put your hands up, put your hands on your lap. They have to tell you that because immediately everybody goes like this, right? So to your point, I hear you. I think that, we've been doing this a long time. And when we moved to inside-out tracking and inside-out track controllers, there was this huge outcry that was, wait a minute, I have to have a camera that sees my controller. This is going to be so fatiguing. What happens if I put my hand behind my head? It's the same thing, right? Remember the first versions here of hand tracking were using technology that was built to do inside-out tracking and hacking it into hands. What's happening now is we're starting to see more and more platforms that are built for hand tracking first. I think the Vision Pro is a great example, right? Your hands can actually go at rest. The problem comes from hands back here, right? For fatiguing stuff, we build ergonomics into our game. Not Job Simulator and a little bit Vacation Simulator, but Vacation Simulator and every game beyond, we actually have every table and every surface has a handle that you can lift to get it to your correct height. We use like ergonomic testing. We have like a 6'5" developer and we have like a 4'11" developer, and we put them both in the game. They have to be able to play it completely. We do a ton of accessibility testing. So yeah, a lot of it is just do good ergonomic work. And the great thing about if you're building for vision, you actually get to leverage the fact that they put cameras at all sorts of weird angles versus other platforms where you got 4 cameras, or even worse, you have like 2.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking the stacking of like exit being one button, and now I've got to pick up a burrito and eat it, which I love the mechanic. It's just more muscle effort.
I mean, exit is one button is assuming that yes, it's more physical effort, but it's less mental effort, right? And it's either a menu like this or a menu like that, right? That you're looking up and pinching. So a lot of times it's just being smart about that ergonomic thing, right? In the case of the exit burrito, you're not doing the exit burrito 100 times, right? This isn't some workout app where you're just like pumping iron or something like that, right? This is like again, it's ergonomics, right? You pick the things that the person does the most, and you make sure that those actions are not repetitively destructive, and then you pick the thing. And that's why like the whole system gesture on Vision Pro, on Vision OS is clearly built for that type of minimal activity that you're just like, you can have your hand at rest and you're using your eyes. And then the other grand gestures you make sure you do infrequently.
Okay, thanks.
And in the Vision 02 beta, the little hash at the top is gone, which is
that's great.
So you don't, I don't know about you, but
I'm
kinda
very
got,
excited.
Yeah, me too.
Just one last question. Hey, Ethan.
That segues. Oh, sorry. That segues into my question, which is, which capability are you all most excited about in Vision OS 2 for your current apps or next set of ambitious goals?
Sure, I'll go.
Yeah.
That there's now going to be lighting in Reality Kit. It's incredible. I mean, you would think that that's an assumption in a 3D software, but we did so much, and in theater, especially Andy had to do a lot of hacking to get like cool lighting effects that were interactive, and now it comes for free, and we're all really excited about that.
I'm super excited in the beta. How many of you guys have downloaded the beta yet? Show of hands. Have you guys tried the Mindfulness app?
Is it new?
Breathing
with
detection.
the new responsiveness, right? That's what, sentient environments, you're not just watching them, they're actually responding to your own breathing. And, it's not happening via the Apple Watch. I don't know how, what they're using under the hood. It appears, looking at chest compressions up and down, but that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really cool.
For me, it's 90 hertz hand tracking, and I got very, very excited about that. And there's a feature now when you walk out of Boundary in the immersive mode where it only shows your floor and doesn't just delete your whole scene. And as a person making a fully immersive app, it's very nice to not immediately be ripped back into the real world.
Oh, one quick answer is physics effects, so that we can take what used to be like a 150-pound television set and make it land with a thud and dust particles.
Nice.
That would be fun.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your great questions, and let's give a round of applause for all these panelists.